Yo guys, and welcome back to Relearn Japanese. And today we are talking about honorific and humble forms. But before we start, I'd like to promote the Patreon. If you guys would like to support the channel more than you are already, you can sign up to be a patron at patreon.com/maydaysan. Starting at $1 a month, you get quick quizzes, kanji buff, Imagine Japanese, what else we got? Japanglish podcast articles, and the upcoming beginner course, which is going to be super in-depth with worksheets and all that stuff, is going to be launching on Patreon alongside on YouTube as well. So if you'd like to support the channel, that'd be great. So why don't we go ahead and get started with today's topic, because it's a doozy and it's honorific and humble forms. Yeah, we got a new design today because I figured out there's designs on PowerPoint. So here we go. So relearn Japanese. Here we go. So Japanese actually has 3 languages. So we have the casual, the honorific, and the humble languages. So casual can also expand into desu form. Doesn't have to be honorific. So casual is when you like talk to people of normal or lower status, or just, you know, someone you met for the first time. We'll say like it's like a business casual. Then you have like honorific. So honorific is talking to someone above you socially, and you cannot use this to talk about yourself. We talked about this in the lesson in the past. And we have the humble is when you bring yourself down to when you're talking to someone above you. So not only are you bringing yourself down, you're also bringing the other person up at the same time. So that's the main difference there. And it can get a little confusing, but just know that the speaker, whoever is speaking, when it comes to honorific or humble forms, is always trying to put themselves in the lower position than the other one. So that's basically the difference there. And you'll also hear this often in like customer service situations. So you'll get used to it over time. So there are certain conjugations that we'll use for honorific and humble forms, but there are verbs that are literally completely changed, and like you just don't, instead of conjugating, you use a completely different verb, and then you conjugate them either A in a honorific form or B in a regular masu form. So let's take a look at some of the examples that can actually just change completely. So the first one is suru. So to do turns to nasaru. So in this order. So suru, nasaru, and itasu. Okay. Then we also have iku, irasharu, and mairu. Right, mairu. You might have seen this a lot if you ever go like on a train or something like that. It's like densha ga mairimasu. The train is coming. Whenever you go to what do you call it? What's that called? A shrine. And you go, it's like shrine omairi, like you're going to a shrine in an honorific and humble way, because obviously you're going to a place of sacred gods and stuff like that, right? So you want to say mairu. Then we have iru and irasharu. So irasharu and oru, right? So oru used to be like natte orimasu. You'll hear that a lot. Orimasu ka? You'll hear that a lot in situations of like customers or business. But in practical thing, probably if you're an English teacher here, you'll hear irasharu a lot. So like Tanaka sensei wa irashaimasu ka? Irasharanai toka, right? You'll hear that a lot for iru. Then we have this one you actually hear a lot. So goran ni naru. Goran is actually an honorific form of miru. So it's, even though it's a separate verb, you might have heard it in like anime or something like that. That's actually an honorific of miru. Then we have haiken suru. So to humbly look at something. Mada haiken shimashita ka? Or something like that. So miru, goran ni naru, and haiken suru. And goran ni naru is actually a type of honorific conjugation, but we'll get that soon. So the conjugations are a bit special that some of the new verbs in this category will change to e-verbs. So a new type of kind of verb conjugation, like an e-verb. So we have nasaru, nasaimasu, nasaimashita, nasaimasen, and nasaimasen deshita. Right? So notice that it does not become nasarimasu, it becomes nasaimasu. That's the big difference there. This rings true with the common irashaimasu, right? Irasharimasu janakute irashaimasu. Okay, so notice that this pattern follows through with kudasaru, which turns into kudasaimasu. More on that later. So here's an example of going from casual to super keigo. So we're going to have sensei wa iru no? Sensei wa inno? Sensei wa imasu ka? Sensei wa irashaimasu ka? Sensei wa irasharu deshou ka? Right? Is perhaps the teacher present? You can see how it becomes more and more indirect and longer as you become more polite, as we talked about in passive tone. So some examples of honorific and humble forms. So we have densha ga kimasu, right? The train is coming. Then we have densha ga irashaimasu. The train is arriving. Even though you can say tochaku, but let's just say it for the sake of argument. Then we have densha ga mairimasu. The train is humbly making its way here. Obviously, it's not translated that way. They all translated the same, but just to help you relearn it, just put it into an extreme and then dial it back. That's always my greatest tip, to put things into the extreme and then dial them back later, just so you can understand what it's doing before bringing it back into reality. Okay, so the big difference between the two is that honorific is used when you're talking towards someone, like you're asking your teacher for something or you're addressing a higher person. So sensei wa doko kara irashaimashita ka? So this would be you're talking to your teacher, right? So you have to use the honorific language. Humble is doing the same thing, but making yourself even lower. So not only is you're raising up this person to be above you, you're raising up this person and bringing yourself down. So that's what humbling is. Humbling is to make yourself like a servant. Imagine it's like a servant talking to a king or the shogun in the past. He would be the lowest he could possibly be. So he's not trying to get his head cut off, right? So, sensei wa doko kara mairimashita ka? Right? So you can say mairimasu instead of irashaimasu, right? In all reality, you're not going to get your head cut off for making this common mistake at all, but it's worth knowing, I suppose. So who knows? Okay, so basically the same, but super keigo. Okay. To be honest, learning, honor, yes, I just said. So it's hard even for Japanese people. So like, don't worry about it unless you work in like sales or some super high position. But even then, I think you could get away with being gaijin smash pass. So you'll rarely be required to speak in humble forms. If you could, would you impress people? Yes, you would actually get the true Nihongo Jozu if you actually speak in humble form. Well, spoke. You also learn over time that set phrases, there's just like set phrases you'll know. Like when you go to McDonald's or you go to the store, supermarket, you'll just hear this super keigo humble form all the time. You'll just pick it up and then you'll eventually get comfortable enough with it that you can be like, okay, can I use this same rule with another verb, right? Which we'll talk about conjugation rules pretty soon. So here's a special mention about aru. So aru means to exist for non-animate objects, right? So you have aru turns to gozaru, which turns to gozaimasu. Ohoho arigatou gozaimasu. Right? Arigatou gozaimasu. There's thankfulness somewhere. It exists. Desu de gozaimasu. De gozaru. De aru. Right? You often see de aru in writing and two-level stuff. So this just goes from the casual to the most polite. So, トイレはどこですか? こちらでございます。こちらですじゃなくて、こちらであるじゃなくて、こちらでございます。Right? So, that's like a common thing you'll hear a lot in sales and customer service situations. Thank God we don't have to do that. Levels of saying sorry also changes as well. There's different ways. There's the one most popular one. You could probably guess it right now. So the first one is sorry. The second one is sumang. Next one is gomen. Next one is gomennasai. The next one is sumimasen. Next one is moushiwake gozaimasen. The next one we have osore irimasu. I hate this one. Osore irimasu. Osore irimasu is fear. Or probably. So I'm going to enter in fear. I'm putting in fear. I'm entering fear because I'm sorry. I'm scared you're going to fucking cut my head off. Moushiwake gozaimasen. There is humbly no excuse. It is regrettable. That's the meme. Sumimasen is sumimasen. Gomennasai, gomen, sumang, and sorry. Sumang is actually the short form of sumimasen. Regular conjugations honorific. So, as a general rule, you pretty much add o and go, which actually have their own kanjis, but we're not really going to get into that. You don't really need to know that. Some of these conjugations are already built into words that need glorifying. So, like dirty words or words that we truly respect in Japanese culture. So, we have otoire. it's a dirty word, so you can say otoire, glorify that. We have gohan, which you can, everyone respects food a lot in Japan. So gohan, ocha, tea is a big thing we respect in Japan. So we're gonna throw in a good old glorifier there. Then we have osake, right? Do you use o or go? Honestly, I don't have the answer for you. It really just depends on the word. Some words will have o, and then some words will have just have go. So just learn through experience, and just you'll know eventually. All right, so here's the first conjugation, which is o, stem form. So like omi or oyogi or something like that, right? So someone becomes an honorific state or thing. So basically, Ninaru is to become. So you're basically becoming an honorable state. So sensei wa omie ni narimasu ka? Omie. So this comes from mieru. You glorify mieru to become. Have you become the honorable state of seeing the teacher? Have you seen the teacher? It's weird. You just got to think about it like that. That's what you got to think about it. O plus stem plus des. Okyaku-san wa okaeri desu ka? You glorify kairi. You glorify that shit. You bring it up. You put up the des. Okaeri desu ka? Are you going home with honor? It's used by staff often. I remember one time I went home early from Airsoft and like, okaeri desu ka? Are you going home already? I'm like, yeah, this place sucks. Next one is honorific plus kudasai. So replacing kudasai with Ninaru. I mean, other way around. Ninaru is replaced by kudasai. So we hear this often. Shoushou omachi kudasai. Omachi ni natte, omachi ni narimasu ka? Instead of that, you just write omachi kudasai. Glorify the waiting, turn it into an honorable wait, and you put kudasai. Tekisto o goran kudasai. Please look at the textbook, an honorable glance at the textbook. Next one, ashimoto go chūi kudasai. Please watch your step. Please watch your step with a gloriful watch your step. You just gotta you gotta put into extremes, right? In order to take it back. So how do you make a request now? So you use the honorific form of kudasaru into kudasai. So you know that phrase, irashaimase? It's actually an honorific conjugation. So we have kudasaru, we have kudasaimasu, which turns to kudasaimasen. Then we have irasharu, irashaimasu, and irashaimase. And then kudasaru, kudasaimasu turns to kudasai. That's also where shinasai comes from. It's kind of like a short version of it. Interesting where it comes from. ちゃんと勉強しなさい! Right? You get it? You got it? Cool. And that is all we have for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching Relearn Japanese. There will be a quick quiz on this, hopefully, if I make it on time. I better do. It's goddamn. And support the Patreon if you'd like to support the channel more and get a whole bunch of goodies, including Hello, my name is Haru ringtones. And music is on there as well. So there's a lot of stuff on the Patreon, guys. There's a lot of stuff on the Patreon. If you just throw $1 at your boy, well, starting at $1. I'm not going to try and scam you or anything. It's starting at $1 for a lot of stuff. Then $5 is a lot of stuff at $5. Not so much at $10 yet. But the best value is the $5. But anyway, that's me. That's you guys. Nihongo Jozu desu ne. And we'll see you next time on Real in Japanese.